Assalamualaikum and greetings to everyone. I am Anis Farzana binti Zulkefli from Universiti Teknologi UITM Shah Alam. Today, I'll be sharing the findings of our research titled Assessing the Impact of ESG Practices on Non-Financial Performance, Evidence from Malaysian Manufacturing SMEs. So let's begin to dive into the research topic. Moving on to the table of content, it covers from introduction, literature review, research objectives and research questions, methodology, findings, discussion, conclusion, and finally implications, limitations, and future research. Let us go one by one. As for the introduction part, small and medium-sized enterprises, or mainly known as SMEs, are an important part of Malaysia's economy, contributing to employment, innovation, and growth. However, many SMEs continue to struggle with performance, especially after disruptions such as the COVID-19 pandemic. These challenges highlight the need for more sustainable and resilient business strategies. One approach that has gained attention is the adoption of environmental, social, and governance, or known as ESG practices. Despite their importance, ESG practices are still not widely adopted among Malaysian SMEs. As for the literature review part, previous studies shows that ESG practices are associated with better non-financial performance such as employee satisfaction, customer trust, and organizational reputation. These outcomes are important for long-term success. However, most ESG studies focus on large corporations, while SMEs, especially in the manufacturing sector, are underrepresented. This creates a clear research gap that this study aims to address. This study has two main objectives. First, to investigate the relationship between ESG pillars and non-financial performance among manufacturing SMEs in Malaysia. Second, it aims to determine which ESG pillar, environmental, social, or governance, has the strongest influence on performance. By focusing on SMEs, this study provides insights that are often missing from existing ESG research. As for the hypothesis development, this is the hypothesis developed from the study, where it is hypothesized that there is a significant relationship between the environmental, social, governance pillar with the performance of SMEs. And the governance pillar is the most influential ESG pillar in enhancing the performance of SMEs. Moving on to the methodology part, a quantitative cross-sectional research design was used in this study. This study employed stratified proportionate sampling. Data were collected from managers of manufacturing SMEs across 5 Malaysian states with the highest SME concentration, which covers on Selangor, Kuala Lumpur, Johor, Perak, and Penang. A total of 336 valid responses were obtained from the SMEs managers. The data were analyzed using statistical packages for social sciences, or known as SPSS, which analyze the descriptive analysis, reliability testing, correlation analysis, and multiple regression. Moving on to the findings part, referring to Table 1, which is the descriptive statistic, it shows that SMEs place the greatest emphasis on social practices such as employee well-being and community engagement. Also, environmental and governance practices are implemented at moderate levels. Meanwhile, referring to Table 2, which is the reliability analysis, it confirms that all constructs are internally consistent, indicating that the measurement scales used in this study are reliable, where it satisfies the generally accepted minimum value Cromba alpha of 0.70. Referring to Table 3, which is the correlation analysis, it presents the results between the ESG pillars and non-financial performance of the SMEs. The findings shows that the social pillar has a moderate positive relationship with SMEs performance, indicating that practices such as employee well-being and community engagement are associated with better outcomes. Governance also shows a positive and significant relationship with performance, highlighting the role of transparency and accountability. However, the environmental pillar does not show a significant direct correlation with performance at this stage. Importantly, no multicollinearity issues were identified, which confirms that the variables are suitable for further regression analysis. Referring to Table 4, which is the model summary and ANOVA, and also the Table 5, which is regression coefficients, the regression analysis shows that ESG practices significantly influence non-financial performance of the SMEs. Among the three ESG pillars, the environmental pillar has the strongest effect on performance, followed closely by governance. The social pillar also has a positive and significant effect, although its influence is relatively smaller. Overall, the findings confirm that ESG practices matter for SMEs' performance. Moving on to the next part, which is the discussion. These findings are consistent with stakeholder theory, which suggests that firms perform better when they respond to stakeholder expectation. Meanwhile, governance and environmental pillars were shown to be the two strongest predictors of ESG performance among manufacturing SMEs. Also, findings are consistent with previous studies reporting that SMEs adopting sustainability strategies achieve better employee engagement, customer satisfaction, and organizational reputation. The next part, which is the conclusion. The first goal is achieved as this study provides empirical evidence that ESG practices positively influence the non-financial performance of manufacturing SMEs in Malaysia. The second goal is likewise achieved as the data proving that environmental, and governance pillars emerge as the most influential pillars of ESG. These findings suggest that ESG should be viewed as a strategic business approach rather than a purely ethical or regulatory requirement. Moving on to the final part of this presentation, which covers on implication, limitations, and future research, there are several points for us to ponder. From a practical perspective, policymakers and support agencies should provide ESG training and simplified guidelines tailored to SMEs. However, this study has limitations, including its cross-sectional design and reliance on self-reported data. Future studies could consider to adopt on longitudinal approaches, examine other sectors, or include multi-source or subjective data. Thank you for your attention. I would like to express my deepest appreciation to my co-authors and institutions involved in this study. For any further questions or collaboration opportunities, feel free to reach out to my email or you may comment at the comment section below. Thank you.